So we now have the lugs soldered into position. As you can see, they're pretty huge, pretty rough looking, and so the next stage is to just cut them back, turn them on the Chauvelin 70 lathe and just start to clean them up. I'll turn off the tops here, and then we can start the profiling of the lugs and trying to make them look a bit more reasonable. The back and the bezels are done, and they just drop into, will eventually just sit on there. So now it's all about just refining what we have and making sure it looks like a reasonable job. So we're just turning the front of the lugs off here. Quite a bit of material to remove, so it's just a bit of a slow process. Always just take very small cuts, because the last thing we want to do is to loosen the grip of the case in the chuck. So just take great care really at this stage. So just checking the progress, just to make sure everything's okay. So here I'm just turning the underside now, just cleaning it up a little bit. Just concentrating on the step first of all, the step down to the case middle. So we turn the back now. We've got a clean seat for the back to screw onto. The lugs are still pretty ugly there, but I'm just going to finish off this side now and just create the seat for the bezel here. Yep, just one. And we're just taking off about 1/100 of a millimetre there, just to clean off that surface. And you always get a bit of distortion with the soldering process, so you always leave a little bit of material on just to take account of that. There. So we'll just take the case out, have a look at it and decide what we're going to do with the lugs in terms of turning, how much metal to remove, and try and plan, I suppose, the style or look of the lugs. So what I'm now going to do is to clean up the tops of these lugs. This sort of finish, this rolled finish, has been left obviously when I thin the lugs down, so that needs to be cleaned up. If you notice also, there's a difference in the colour of the material, and that's just purely from the heating process. So when I come to do the finishing of the watch, this sort of lighter oxide, gold oxide, all has to be removed and brought back to the red gold. So a bit of work now, but as I say, just to clean off the top of these lugs, I'll put a bit of an angle on and also shorten them, bring them all to the same length. And basically the way I tend to work on something like this is just to gradually take the material away, so you get an impression as to what the case is going to look like. And if you just do it slowly and gradually, then hopefully we can create something that looks relatively pleasing. So what I'm now going to do is just to set this compound slide at an angle, and just to start taking off some of this excess material. It is really, at this stage, it's about just how it looks, you know, visually, no measurements, just trying to get something that looks pleasing. And so, as with all these things, it's a bit of trial and error. And we can adjust this as we go along. Again, just slow, small cuts. And just nibble away the material. So we've just got this lug here just to clean up a little bit more. So that we've now cleaned up the top of those lugs, we can alter the angle in which they slope away from the case at a later stage. But what I'm now going to do is just make sure that they're all of the same length. And for this, I'm just going to turn the tips of the lugs. So I just need to readjust the compound slide. Okay, very slowly. Up. We're nearly there. They're going to be way over length at the moment, but that doesn't matter. It's better to have too much metal than too little metal at this stage. Nearly there. Right, and so now we're done there. So it's starting to look a little bit more sensible. We have the top sort of roughed out, the ends, and now we just need to clean up the underside of these lugs, and then we'll have something to work with, and we can perhaps put a curve on here, or we could even straighten off these lugs, it depends, but at least we've got plenty of metal to work with, and we can start to sort of visualize the finishing sort of look and appearance of the case. So what I'm now wanting to do is just to machine the ends of the lugs square. At the moment they have obviously a turned finish to them, so I'm just wanting to square them up, shorten them in effect, and I'm doing this by holding the case obviously in a 3-jaw chuck, and then this is a milling attachment here, which is all a bit difficult to see because I can't, I'm a bit cramped for space with the overhead drive, so anyway, we'll get cracking and machine away the end. So we're taking it to full depth. We'll just use the whole of the side of the milling cutter. And I'll just work on one lug at a time. Now I'll just move down to the lower one.